Welcome, Nick. All right, so it is now 7 o'clock, so I'm going to get started and introduce our guest for this evening, which is Jennifer Catallo of LinkedIn. And Jennifer is a guest that I'm incredibly excited to have at UpSkill community, incredibly excited to talk with, because what Jennifer is going to share with us tonight is so important for each of us in our individual roles as professionals in our own rights, but also within organizations that we work for, and for those of us who have business or business interests or intentions to have a business interest. What Jennifer is going to cover tonight is going to be really, really important. And so I'm not going to use up any of our time. I'm going to get straight in and ask Jennifer to introduce herself. Welcome to UpSkill community, Jennifer.
Thank you, Michelle. It's a pleasure to be here. I do have some slides that I'll share as we kind of go through tonight's conversation, and that really is the key for me. It's the intention is to have a conversation, to spark some discussion, and I find that sometimes slides are helpful in kind of structuring a little bit of that dialogue. So, as Michelle mentioned, I work at LinkedIn. I've been at LinkedIn for 5 years now. And currently I work as an account director, and I specifically focus on our talent suite of products. And I work with our government vertical. So what I mean by that is I work with our government partners to support them in developing their talent strategy. I also help in establishing their hiring strategy, and we work together in moving towards not only building their employee base, but maintaining and retaining those employees through that talent development strategy. So I thought that a great way to kind of approach this evening's discussion was to step back, because I think at least I find when I'm in LinkedIn, I kind of get a little bit of tunnel vision. And I thought what would be helpful is for us to kind of step back and think a little bit about LinkedIn's mission and vision, and then to better understand what the ecosystem looks like. What are the different component parts of LinkedIn? And how do those component parts work together? And then to talk about LinkedIn's foundation, which is your profile. And then potentially get into some discussion around thought leadership and skill development. So there may be some areas of interest that you have that perhaps I don't touch on. Don't hesitate to definitely bring those up. Feel free to stop me at any point. I'm happy to kind of pause and answer any questions as we go through some of the key components here. And definitely gonna focus in toward the end of the session on a little bit more of an open-ended Q&A period. So with that, I thought we'd start with LinkedIn's vision. So generally, LinkedIn's vision is to create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. So this vision is aligned with broader economic and workforce development. The best way that this is demonstrated is through what LinkedIn refers to as their economic graph. So not a lot of people are even familiar with this, but LinkedIn has developed an economic graph. So what is an economic graph? So you can imagine millions of people come to LinkedIn every day. They come there to make connections, to find new opportunities, to exchange information, to build knowledge, to transform their careers. It is considered the online professional community. It's definitely number one in terms of trusted social networks. When you start to take all of the pieces of LinkedIn apart, you see that we have over 850 million members. So imagine out of those 850 million members, we have information about where they went to school, what skills they have, different types of employment. When we look at all of the companies, So we have millions of companies on LinkedIn, their company pages. We can understand who they're hiring, what kinds of jobs they're posting, what are the skills associated with those jobs. And so you can start to identify across all of these different data points. LinkedIn is making connections and building a digital representation of the global economy. And so what they're doing is sharing this information with government organizations, international organizations like the IMF, World Bank, to support investments into what are those in-demand industries? What are those opportunities for upskilling? Where should governments consider putting their money for these types of upskilling initiatives? What does the overall workforce development labor market look like? What are the trending in-demand skills of the future? And generally, LinkedIn has an economic graph team that focuses on this information and basically engages in research around this aggregated data. And so this helps, I think, helps people better understand the larger ecosystem. So LinkedIn isn't just necessarily a place where you go and you post your resume. It's a rich ecosystem that serves companies seeking to attract and hire, develop and retain talent. That ecosystem serves members who are on a journey. They're on a journey to learn more about themselves, and they're on a journey in terms of developing their career. These same members also come to LinkedIn to follow interests, to learn new skills, to learn about other companies, to see what their people in their network are doing, to develop their own organizations. And they do that in an interactive community. And so you can imagine with all of this that's going on, there are some products that LinkedIn leverages as part of this larger ecosystem that all flow into each other. And so understanding how these products flow into each other helps in optimizing the use of these different products. So for example, when you get someone to provide a recommendation for you on your LinkedIn profile, that signals to a recruiter who's evaluating your profile credibility regarding your potential as an employee at that organization. When you look at some of the aggregate data around top trending in-demand skills, that helps you as an organization strategize on what kinds of skills you want your employees to develop and the skills you want from employees that you intend to hire. When you're a recruiter and you reach out via InMail, the personalization of that message helps you get the message across to that employee regarding your interest in that employee that candidate to potentially become an employee. And so all of these different capabilities kind of flow into each other. And so when people ask, what's the best way to optimize my LinkedIn profile? I often suggest having a good understanding of the larger ecosystem will help you really optimize your LinkedIn profile effectively. So that's part of what we're going to kind of dive into. We're going to talk about this ecosystem. And I like to refer to this ecosystem as a three-pronged ecosystem. So the planning, the hiring, and the developing. Different components will come out of each one of these pieces, but generally, when we're looking at planning, this is for organizations in terms of their talent analytics, benchmarking themselves against peers, workforce planning, labor market information, really just getting insights and data. When we're looking at hiring, we're looking at either as an employer, establishing your employer brand, establishing yourself as a thought leader, ensuring that you are, as an employee or someone who's seeking employment, putting your best foot forward, and how you can do that both in terms of the art and the science. That is ensuring that you're getting captured in the algorithm that the recruiters are using to locate you. And then finally, we look at development. So that's anywhere from skill development, employers' ability to retain employees, all the way to ensuring that you're developing your network and maintaining that network. So I'll pause there just to see if there are any questions, but what we'll do is we'll take some time to dive into each one of these, and I'm going to showcase all of the products in a little bit of a demonstration so that I can hopefully bring a little bit more clarity as to how all of these products play into the ecosystem that is LinkedIn.
So Jennifer, can I ask a question about the recommendations? Because we talked about the recommendations in terms of being noticed or identified with particular skills with respect to hiring. Are these recommendations likewise relevant for entrepreneurs, let's say, for other roles? Can they be used in those ways?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, because I think when you're looking at it from the lens of an individual profile, oftentimes the first thing is a hiring manager or recruiter looking at that profile and evaluating candidates regarding their credibility. However, if I am looking at B2B and I'm investigating a potential organization that I want to work with, I might go to see those employees, particularly leaders, and those I might be working with, and look at their profiles to, again, garner some insight into their credibility. So those recommendations do play a role, especially when it comes to B2B, and in terms of giving credibility around that particular person. So for instance, government officials, agencies, and others that I work with will often and likely, when they know they're working with me, look to my profile, largely look to my recommendations and other items across my profile to review my credibility. So I think it's an effective way to again, really provide you with the ability to showcase that credibility from someone else's perspective other than your own. That's what I find the recommendation section really enables you to do.
Fabulous. Thank you.
Of course.
Sorry, good night. Just so I understand, and the other question I want to ask, the self-employed and you do business for a client in the IT field, generally your clients are just businesses. Like, how do you get them to say recommend, do even a recommendation portion of stuff, right, to start boost your profile, your credibility? What's I don't know, what's the dialogue? I mean, you go to your client, hey, do you have a LinkedIn account? That appreciate, like, if you get the question.
Yeah, I do. And I love that question because it's some of the new functionality that's come out, and it's on the cusp of our roadmap. So it'll be coming out in the next couple of quarters. The focus on product, the focus associated with each of our company pages, where there is opportunity to kind of provide comments and experiences, and very much enable more of the recommendations on the company itself. Right now, the recommendations are almost limited to the profiles. So it's about the individual, how that individual fared, how that individual has what experiences you've had with that individual. So if you notice, the recommendation section is typically on a profile. We have new functionality where that is going to be available on a company page. So that would enable someone who's engaged with your company to be able to share their experiences around your company. I'll highlight a couple of examples of the way that other organizations have done this in with respect to their different marketing strategies on LinkedIn. So they would highlight their employees, or have their employees speak to their value. They would highlight successful clients that they've had, and how they've effectively leverage their product or leverage their services. So there's a couple of other strategies that have been used, but it's definitely one of the key things that I think is in the pipeline. And I'm happy to kind of take it offline and kind of share some of those roadmap ideas around that from the company page versus what I'm speaking to, which is mainly the recommendations on the profile.
Okay. Thank you.
Of
Thank you.
Of course. Can everyone see my desktop now? I've changed the sharing, so I want to make sure that you can all see that. This is what I'm sharing right now is LinkedIn's economic graph.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So basically you can Google LinkedIn economic graph and this is where you will get. So I wanted to give you a little bit of insight into this only because this is an incredibly valuable place to go if you're looking for anything having to do with LinkedIn research. So if you're looking at workforce data, you want to understand different LinkedIn data insights around the labor market. You want to better understand workforce development reports, all of that is available to you from this particular area. So it speaks to all of the different things that LinkedIn is engaging in regarding the data that they're finding and the insights that they're deriving from data across LinkedIn. So one of the tools in the larger ecosystem that I wanted to initially start off with is tied to the economic graph. So this is referred to as the talent insights tool. So this particular tool is often used by companies, by investment organizations, by workforce development agencies, by government agencies. And this is used in a couple of different ways, but generally to garner insight into the global workforce, as well as to better understand different types of talent pools and companies. So understanding what your competitor or peer organizations are doing. So I'll give a couple of examples. So if I wanted to, let's say LinkedIn was a peer organization and I wanted to better understand what is going on at LinkedIn, I can actually run a report. And what this is doing is it's pulling all of the information from LinkedIn at an aggregate. So let's say I was competing with LinkedIn or it was a peer organization and I wanted some insight into how LinkedIn was faring. I can run a report on LinkedIn and it gives me information over the past year to date. There are about 23,000 employees at LinkedIn who are currently on LinkedIn. I can see that what their attrition rate for LinkedIn is about 16%. May not necessarily mean anything, but we can go to the attrition tab to better understand what that actually means and contextualize it. I can also understand how many jobs are currently being posted by this company. What I can do is I can go into each one of these different areas and really understand the context. So for instance, in terms of talent flows, I can see Amazon, Google, and Microsoft are the companies that are taking talent away from LinkedIn. And we're also getting talent from Google, Meta, and Microsoft. So I can start to see that net change in terms of hires and departures. I can also get information around the winning and losing of talent beyond our top competitors or peers and look to see what that's looked like over the last 12 months. I can see that worldwide as well. So it gives me a lot of insights and information around how talent is moving. And then I can look at specifically how that workforce is distributed. So I can look at, is LinkedIn losing more in terms of engineers versus sales? Where are they losing and gaining talent? What does their attrition look like? And then based on this information, I can drive some insights. One of the areas I particularly find insightful is the extent to which skills are provided. Here I can see, 18% increase in employees at LinkedIn who are learning SQL. So that's indicative of an important skill that they're learning that can give us insight into the direction of this particular technology and so forth and so on. So I can do this for all companies, and then I can actually do it for talent. So let's say I was interested in understanding just general talent, how is talent distributed in Ontario? I can see that there are over 6 million people who are on LinkedIn just from Ontario. Of those 6.4 million people, 533,000 have changed jobs. So that means that they've indicated or changed their LinkedIn profile over the span of the last year. There's about 110,000 current jobs on LinkedIn right now. I can see what generally the gender diversity is, and then where the top locations are for these professionals. And then I can kind of dive in deeper with respect to this information. I can see what average compensation is, but then I can look at, okay, so what are the top companies that are employing talent in this particular region? TD has had a 7% increase in the last year. They have almost over 1,000 jobs at this point available. And then I can get information around skills. So what are the most common skills? And then things like, what are the fastest growing skills? So interestingly enough, Python programming skills has gone up 25% in the last year, which is quite interesting because it was actually quite low about 3 years ago when I was running these reports. So you can start to see the changing dynamic of skills and the requirement of skills. So this just gives you an example of how all of the data comes together and can be leveraged by companies. So you can imagine a company will purchase this product. They'll look to, let's say, a particular talent pool. So in this case, they might be looking for, I don't know, a senior software engineer. In Ontario, there's about 13,000. That company can then go to the profile section and then say, okay, maybe this senior software engineer would be of interest. When they click on See Profile, it brings them to another tool. This is the recruiter tool. So this is the tool that pretty much any recruiter who leverages LinkedIn uses. And this is the tool that is really effective in understanding because it kind of is a backward design approach to understanding what makes the most sense in optimizing your LinkedIn profile if you're looking for opportunities. So as a recruiter, I can use this tool to better understand who this person is. I can create what are referred to as projects, and then I can search across the entire ecosystem of LinkedIn. So as an example, I can, let me clear these so that you can see this more from a baseline perspective. So I've set it up so that I don't see any pictures and I don't see any names as a way to ensure that I'm not being biased when I do recruiting. So that's an option made available to organizations. Should they want to explore, more of a diversity and inclusive lens, they can opt to remove pictures and names to help them in doing that. What I can then do as a recruiter is build my talent pool. So I can say, okay, I want to look at anyone who's indicated that they're open to work. So on your LinkedIn profile, if you switch open to work on, as a recruiter, I can filter and look at only people who have open to work turned on. What that does is it indicates to recruiters that you're open to opportunities, and it helps recruiters narrow the field of people that they want to potentially reach out to in the hopes that they'll actually respond. You'll notice there are some other spotlight items that recruiters can turn on as well. So maybe they're more likely to respond. So does that person log in every 30 days? Do they answer messages? Are they engaged with our talent? So do they follow our company page? Do they engage with our posts? Do they have any company connections? I can turn any of these filters on to, again, narrow the scope and pool of candidates. Not surprising, I can put things like a current job title. So if I was looking for a software engineer, I could put the title. I could identify locations, and then I can identify all kinds of other components. So with our US counterparts, when we work with them, we tell them to use, Black colleges as a way to help to kind of bring more of that diversity and inclusion lens, adding schools so that you can, again, narrow the focus of the recruitment, because you know recruiters can't reach out to thousands of people at once, but you do it in a way that they're ensuring that marginalized communities are getting the ability to become potential candidates for these roles. There's a search for all kinds of information. So there's keyword searches. For example, when I work with organizations, I often will suggest to them, use keywords like disabilities. Look to see if they're in groups on LinkedIn with women's groups. So again, recruiters can now leverage all of these different components to slice and dice the data to find potential candidates. And when they do, they can select those candidates, save them to their pipeline, and then they can message those candidates. And so when they message those candidates, they can do that pretty much, and I can show you an example in a templated version. Join our team, and it'll give them this information, and then they can send it out. Typically, they can message upwards of 25 people at once, and depending on the level of recruiter that they purchase, they can send 150 emails that are recyclable, meaning that if someone responds, yay or nay, it's irrelevant, but they get a response, they'll be able to send another message. So the idea here is sound in terms of really providing that opportunity for recruiters to make the most of this tool. What makes the most in terms of someone's profile is their ability to understand how recruiters are searching for them, using their title, using keywords, using these different components to ensure that they are top in terms of the results of potential profiles that recruiters will see when they're filtering and using all of these different filters. So ensuring you have open to work turned on and so forth and so on. So I'll pause there because I know that was a lot of information with the talent insights, the plethora of data that's available, and then this example through a recruiter tool. And see if we have any questions before I dive into the next and last section, and then open it up for continued discussion.
Maybe I'm jumping ahead with my question. It might be in your next section. In terms of, so recruiters use keyword searches, right? And in terms of a potential marketing themselves, are there trending words within a certain profession that they put in there that you would recommend, okay, if you're going to put up your profile, consider these new trending words as opposed to something that was five years ago or something like that?
Yeah, that's an excellent point. So let me show you. There is this great, it's a great recording, and I'll give you these resources because they're freely available, but it gives you an idea. So there's 6 elements of LinkedIn's algorithm that helps you understand a couple of ways of how this works. So companies will purchase what we refer to as a job slot. So they'll post their job on LinkedIn. Typically, they'll have purchased a slot to post their job. That job will then get recommended to you, and it gets recommended to you as a candidate based on your profile. The recruiter will find that profile if they do a search based on the way that the keywords are set up. So generally, these are the key areas. So here we go. Job title, location, industry, job function, job description, and skills. So those are the key items in the jobs area that will get tied to your profile. So the keywords, I have an entire site that you can go to get the list of the keywords for every single job. in the entire taxonomy on LinkedIn. So it makes it a lot easier to ensure that those keywords are sprinkled throughout your profile, so that you get captured in a recruiter search, but you also get jobs recommended to you. So you see them right away. And the best place to find that is, apologies,
no worries, Jen. While you're doing that, when you're the next question is from Krupal, and Catherine also has one in the chat.
Sure. Apologies, I should have had this queued up. I didn't know if I was going to show this one, but this is through LinkedIn's economic graph team. And if you're curious about the way that the taxonomy is set up and the mapping is done, you can kind of learn a little bit about it here. It talks about how LinkedIn has 36,000 skills. So that's the skills taxonomy that's set up. Let me make that a little bigger. And about 6,000 job titles. So what this particular tool does, and I'm going to scroll, should you be interested in understanding how this works, you can kind of read through this, but I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom, and you can identify your particular area. So in our case, we might be looking at, I always do that, and then Toronto, there we go. And let's say you're looking at marketing, digital marketing manager. This will give you a list of all of the skills associated with this particular job. And then should you want to transition to something where those skills still apply, let's say you were going from a digital marketing manager to a consultant or a strategist, it'll tell you additional skills to look at. Or you wanted to upskill to become a director, it'll tell you additional skills to build. And what's interesting is that you can click here to find jobs and here to find connections. So I find this to be a really useful resource. So I'll take the link, and this is free, and I'll put it in here in the chat. And then I'll also put the economic graph link in the chat, so you have that, should you want to explore these a little bit more. But hopefully you found that to be useful, and I hope that answers the question. What were the other questions, Michelle? Should I open the chat?
Krupal had a question first, and then Catherine.
Hello?
Go ahead, Krupal. Yes?
Yes, hi. So I wanted to ask that, when it was mentioned that it is open to recruiters, so should my profile be open to everyone or just open to the recruiters?
Excellent question. So let me go to my profile so I can share the option here. So if I go to my profile, you'll see there's the open to. I think it's through here. Open to work. Where is it? Nope, wrong one. It gives you the option. I'm not sure why it's not. It gives you the option to make it available to only recruiters or everyone. When you choose making it available to everyone, there's a banner that presents under your profile picture that says, I think it's looking for work. I can't remember what it looks like. Yeah. So it's really a question of whether or not you want to make it public that you're looking for an opportunity. I have it turned on to only let recruiters know, because I don't want my company to know that I'm looking for opportunities.
Yeah, so that was my question, is that, is it preferable to be just open to recruiters, or should it be open to public?
I think if you want the public to be aware, then why not? It opens it up and lets your network know. In my circumstance, it wouldn't necessarily look particularly good, and my manager might come to me and ask why exactly I have that set up on my profile. So I think you have to be cognizant of whether or not you want the public to know. I would say err on the cautious side and just let recruiters know initially. The other thing I would say is often you can turn it off and turn it on. There's this really interesting thing that happens when you turn it off. And what I mean by that is if I go to, and it's just a quirk of the system, but it's nice to know. So when I am in the recruiter software and I've gone through and built out my talent pool, and I've put people in my pipeline, the system will automatically update my pipeline for me. This is in an effort to automate certain pieces of the process for recruiters to help them in the process. And so I'll get a notification as a recruiter that says, oh, there's some additional candidates to think about. And often those candidates either just turned on open to work, so they became part of the potential filter of pool of talent that I had, kind of structured. And so if you turn that on and turn that off every once in a while, it might actually trigger you to be entered into new pools. So it's helpful not to stay stagnant with those pieces. And so play with them a little bit, I would say.
Okay, thank you so much.
Of course.
Awesome, thank you. And I see Catherine had a question. She wanted to know if we were diving into Sales Navigator. That's the main tool she was hoping we would discuss for lead generation and conversion.
Oh, I hadn't set anything up for Sales Navigator. It's definitely my weakest of all the tools. You'd think it would be one of my strongest, seeing as though I'm in sales, so it makes sense to have access to it and use it more effectively. But I'm happy to take questions on it, and then if we have some time toward the end, I'm happy to dive in there and see if I don't fall on my face.
Okay. Catherine, do you have any specific questions?
More so like we used, so we're trying to generate, I'm trying to build up my list. So we used Copilot that worked with Sales Navigator. So I've stopped using Copilot now just because the campaign's over and I've just got a whole bunch of lists and a bunch of people in there, and I figure I can leverage that. I just haven't really gone into the interface yet very much. I'm looking to do that in the next couple of weeks. So I just thought if there were some tips or anything that, how I could leverage all of those. Like, I don't know, I think there's like 300 people in the pipeline there. So I'm just trying to, I'm going to have my, we've been running the campaign. So I'm going to have our assistant kind of go through a lot of that. So just because I don't have the time, but I was just curious about that. So I can look it up though and learn some other tips. If you have any tips, that'd be helpful.
So I will say I haven't watched it in a while, so it's probably been like probably 3 years now. There's an incredibly good course. A colleague of mine actually created it on LinkedIn Learning. She was the Sales Navigator guru at LinkedIn. She provides like a really good set of tips and tricks. So I can suggest that course and I can share it with you. I know that we're offering free premium LinkedIn for 6 months at the end of this for, I think, 3 of them. So if you get one of those, you'll have access to LinkedIn Learning for free. So I would say it's a great way to just kind of get a couple of the tips and tricks from a couple of videos that are super short, under 4 or 5 minutes in length, and that should help you, I think, at least fill the gap.
Great, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
No worries. Okay, so if I go back to LinkedIn, I talked a little bit about LinkedIn Talent Insights. So this is the larger aggregate of all of the data from LinkedIn and how companies use it to kind of inform their talent strategy, inform them around what are the fastest growing skills, what other companies or what other peers are doing, what their attrition rates are. Basically just an incredible amount of data that can be actioned on depending on the particular needs of different companies. how they can then use that information and then move into LinkedIn Recruiter and use the recruiter tool to find people on LinkedIn. Companies will also, through the recruiter tool, apologies, let me get here. This is where they will actually post jobs. So it's actually from the jobs section that they will post jobs. And as I noted here, when they post a job, it's actually quite simple. It's either automated or set up manually, where they would identify the company, their title, they basically fill in a form, and then that job gets posted on the company page and recommended based on the example I showcased here. If your title in your profile and the title of the job are similar, if the location is similar, if the industry indicated on your profile and the job are similar, these are all mapped, and that job gets presented to you as a potential recommended opportunity. The other thing that companies do is they will leverage their company page. So a number of different companies will do this in a couple of different ways. I will show you, just because I work with government, and this is probably one of my favorite. And this is really, it depends. I mean, you could see, it's our fault. I hope so. Here we go. Okay, so you can kind of get a sense around some of the nuances. This is specific to government. It's going to have different variations depending on the vertical, but all in all, the objectives are the same, which is to build your brand as an organization. So oftentimes I get the question, well, my profile, how should my profile and my company page be different? And so your company needs to provide for the mission and vision of your organization, while the profile needs to showcase the credibility of you as the person, either the CEO or whoever it is that you're representing from that organization. So the company page is free to create. And typically what you'll see is a couple of different interesting things around the company page in terms of your ability to replicate what you might have on a website. The traffic to the company page can be monitored, so you can get reports on the followers, how many people are following you when you're posting content, the data and insights around that content. But companies will often pay for this additional tab. It's called the Life tab. And so companies will pay for this additional tab because this additional tab is intended to provide you with the ability to showcase your organization as an employer of choice. So you can see with this example of the city of Calgary, they have really focused in on setting the stage as an employer that puts diversity and inclusion first. And so they showcase that, particularly as it pertains to their metrics around women in leadership. And they speak to that on this page. They also go in to provide details around who their recruiters are, who their HR team is. So if you were interested in employment there, you would know exactly who to go to. You would then be able to see employee testimonials, so forth and so on. So this gives you a kind of sense of the way that you could set up your page. And part of the rationale that companies make in terms of purchasing this additional tab is that this comes with traffic drivers. So advertisements are issued across LinkedIn to members who align with any of the jobs that the organization has posted in the past. So right now, Calgary has posted jobs around anti-racism business strategist, employee development specialist, business strategist, and project manager, anti-racist strategic advisor. They're really putting a lot of effort into diversity and inclusion and empowering a structure around it, operation and maintenance planner. So all of these jobs will identify potential people to serve those jobs up to who align in respect to their profile. They'll also receive advertisements as a result of this tab in order to get more attention on Calgary as an employer of choice. So I'll just pause there to see if there are any specific questions around company pages, as they are from a free perspective, but also should you be interested in payment options, the Life tab is probably the one that I would highly recommend, aside from some other marketing specific options.
So a quick question then, Jen, when I look at the Life tab, how is that tab any different than posting a link to your web page?
You got it. Yeah. So the main difference is you're paying for additional advertisements. So what will happen is I, as a member, let's say I go into LinkedIn one day, I will see, an advertisement, work at the city of Calgary, an employer of choice. And if I click on that advertisement, it will take me to the Life tab on the company page. So the goal is to drive traffic to the company page so that people become aware of what that brand is, what that organization represents, why that organization is an employer of choice, and then it further drives interest into job opportunities. So that's the main difference. The second difference is that someone would have to search your website. It's definitely has to be something top of mind for them to go into Google to find, versus the amount of people that spend time on LinkedIn that can easily search from within LinkedIn. I think it would be hard to compare in terms of the visibility that you get on LinkedIn.
Okay, awesome. I see Catherine's hand
Yeah.
is up.
Yep. So along with, thank you, Michelle. So along with the Life tab, you mentioned, I heard you say something about there's some other pages, like some marketing pages. As a marketing person, that's of interest to me. What would those be?
Yeah, so there's a number of different marketing options. So basically they have them set up as campaigns. So it's really, there's one example that's a good one. I think, I don't know if I can, let me see if I can, if I go to my profile, I don't know if it'll, so here you'll see they're promoted as examples. So what you can do is, it's called a work with us ads. So you can have an advertisement set up on every single one of your employee profiles. And that is to direct people to your company page or your jobs as a kind of defensive tactic. So if someone were going to look up employees at your organization, rather than seeing advertisements to go and work somewhere else, they would be accompanied with these work with us ads. Other items are different types or variations of campaigns. I wonder, let me see if I have my campaign manager up and running.
That would be something that I'd love to see an overview of.
Yeah, so we have, I'm double checking. I don't think I can share this one, but apologies, I didn't have it set up, a demo set up, but the campaign manager works in a couple of different ways. So when you'll notice the different types of marketing that would come up, whether it's on the side panel, you'll find that there are promoted marketing components that'll come up in the feed. There are a number of different places where they can come up, but generally the campaigns can be issued across a variety of different structures. So the last time I worked on campaigns was when I was working with the academic space, and it was with alumni organizations. So what they were trying to do was capture all the people who had ever gone to their specific university to let them know about an upcoming event. So they were able to purchase marketing that would issue direct emails to all of the people that had gone to that university for a specified period of time, graduates from this year to this year, to let them know about events. So you can specify different criteria based on profiles, whether they're in this location, whether they've worked for this type of organization or this type of industry. So there's a couple of those types of things that can help you narrow in and target who you would want to advertise to on LinkedIn.
Yeah, the targeting, that's very good. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Interesting.
Of course. And I'm happy to so I can connect you with our marketing specialists.
That would be great.
They would be much better equipped than I to kind of speak to all of the different campaign options, but I can also send you some resources and materials that you can review, so that I like to say going in there with some
Yeah.
knowledge of the different options helps you kind of have a depth
Yeah.
of conversation. Yeah.
Of understanding. Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, because I am planning to do some LinkedIn campaigns next year. So the more I know, the better. So thank you.
Of course. And on LinkedIn Learning, I think they actually have, I'll have to check because there's a thought leadership one, but that I wanted to share, but I think they have a marketing course, LinkedIn. I can double check LinkedIn marketing. I know they have LinkedIn marketing strategy, B2B marketing on LinkedIn. So that might be one of the ones you want to look at, or marketing on LinkedIn. Both of those are pretty good.
Could I get a sense in the chat? Anyone that's interested in winning the free 6 months LinkedIn Premium membership? Post your name in the chat. Okay. We have 3 people so far. That's great. 4.
Are there any other questions, or do you want me to keep going? I had a couple
Yeah.
of things I wanted to speak to
Yes.
around and profile I wasn't sure if this
Go
is,
ahead.
yeah.
Yes, go ahead. Thank you.
Of course. Let me.
Yes, Jen, I think I've run out of LinkedIn premium accounts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. Twice the number.
Awesome. I wish I had more to offer.
We're going to have a little contest to get to it.
Okay. Amazing. Okay. So we've done the talent pool. We've done the recruiter. We've looked at the company page. I'm wondering, before I go to LinkedIn Learning, where I want to kind of showcase a couple of things and then highlight a really great resource that is freely available. Would you find value in going through some parameters of a LinkedIn profile?
Yes, Jen, definitely. I think most of us would like to know how to make our profiles better, more appealing, more effective, and personal profiles for starters. And I'm pretty sure there will be a few people who want to hear about, particularly for individuals who also are entrepreneurs, balancing the two.
You got it. Okay. So just because I have my profile and it's frowned upon for us to make demo profiles. I learned that the hard way. I will use mine. This is by no means an exceptional one. So I like using it because I highlight some of the things that are problematic, but generally, I think it's helpful to use a profile as an example. So there are a couple of key things that I will highlight that are kind of the art component of a profile and then the science. And so when I'm speaking to the art component is really about, your story and how you want to tell it. That is something that I find particularly, I don't know, there's something about having the ability to come back to this pretty consistently. Like, my story is never done. It's a living document, and I come back and I kind of change things up and I tweak things pretty regularly. So that's the art piece. That's going to be what resonates with you. And then there's the science piece, which is, how do I get people's attention? How do I get recruiters interested? How do I get, people to see credibility in what I'm offering? How do I use keywords? Where do I use those keywords? That kind of thing. So the first place, as it pertains to the background here, there's no science to it. No algorithm is going to capture this information. No algorithm is really going to look to your picture. This is all going to be relative to different personas and their perception. So when it comes to perception, typically what we tell people is, it is a site where you're looking to encounter, improve career opportunities, establish career transitions, build business relationships. You probably want to look like you want to do it. So smiling or some kind of, I'm happy I'm here helps. In terms of background, this is really a way for you to demonstrate creativity. It's also a way for you to really stand out and make the most in terms of the imagery that's available for you to, reinforce the story you're telling. However, when it comes to science, your title is quite important. So what you put in this particular space, this is incredibly invaluable real estate. And it's a couple of reasons why it's invaluable real estate. First and foremost, the algorithm will look to this to serve jobs up to you. So it's going to look to your initial title. It's going to look to this area to serve jobs up. So if you want appropriate recommended jobs, it's going to look to these keywords. So if I go to my jobs section, it'll see things like account executive, director, partnership director, consultant, academic services. You'll notice all of the different suggested jobs where I'm a top applicant, jobs that are being recommended to me, all align with the keywords in my title. You also want to make sure that all of the space is used. This is important real estate, so you want to use the most of it. I particularly like having multiple keywords. Some people will just have their current role, which is sufficient if that's where they want continued engagement. But really thinking about maximizing this space and using keywords. So that sample I showed before in terms of the list of keywords or skills, using that as a way to further brainstorm what to put in that section. The other thing that I would say is you want to ensure that you have the open to work that I mentioned turned on. And then depending on your interest in being a creator, that can be something we can definitely discuss. You can turn that on as well. And that will let people know what you're interested in talking about. So highlighting and again, reinforcing the brand that you are establishing. There are a couple of areas on LinkedIn that are really important. The About section. Key in terms of the one place that hiring managers, recruiters, and anyone who's evaluating you as a leader of your organization or a thought leader in general, they will almost only and always look to the About section. So this needs to be the section that you spend the most time on. So not that mine is by far a solid, I see a lot of areas of opportunity here. I could be adding additional skills. I think it's good in terms of the length. You want to make sure it's not so long that people don't read it, but there's opportunity where I could be adding skills, opportunity to say, if you're interested in consulting, please connect with me here. Giving direction on how to engage with me might be a good option here. But generally the idea is that I highlight, that what my passion is, and what my drive is. Those are some of the key things that no matter where I go, I am passionate about being an entrepreneur, a leader without formal authority, and I'm driven by curiosity. So I kind of try to establish what it is that I'm going to bring, no matter what organization I go to, and no matter what role I'm in. So again, the intention is to really establish what it is that you bring that maybe someone else might not. Someone else is probably an account director at LinkedIn and has the exact same role that I do, but we very much do it differently. And so I try to highlight how I do that differently. Again, this is one of those real estate areas that the algorithm will look to for the keywords. So the algorithm will use natural language processing and keywords to identify, and you'll notice the account director, the sales, the learning and development, those are reiterated over and over in these two sections, because that's the area that I want, recruiters to reach out to me on, and I want job recommended to me. If I owned or operated an organization, sold a product, or was a consultant, then this is where I would highlight if see my organization here, or go to my organization to learn more about, the work that we do. Should you be interested, go to the organization to learn what we do at the organization. But this is what drives me in terms of my career. This is what drives me in my day-to-day. This is what gets me up in the morning. The experience section is exactly that, experience. You can choose to put as much or as little as you like in the experience section. I typically find to add credibility and to add a little additional nuance. I like using the multimedia. It's not necessary. Algorithm's not going to pick up on it. Recruiters don't necessarily care about it. However, a hiring manager might be interested. Someone who's looking at, using you as a consultant might want to look at some of your portfolio of work. So having some examples might be helpful as a centralized space to go. Again, you could add see my website, but then you're redirecting them to the different areas all over the place, and it makes it really challenging for someone to evaluate you. So having it nice centralized here, I think is a good potential solution. When it comes to skills is the next section. I would highly recommend having skills, getting skills endorsed. Again, there's definitely conversation around this, whether endorsements contributed to credibility or not. You can get up to, I think it's 99 endorsements per skill. The more likely there's credibility. I don't necessarily think the skills are limited to just the value of getting a recruiter to reach out to you, or the value associated with getting jobs recommended. I think with the skills, I use it strategically on LinkedIn. So this is just my own personal approach to it. I use skills as a way to maintain relationships on LinkedIn. So for example, I'll go to my network, I set it up once a quarter. I'll identify who I've connected with in the last quarter. I'll go to that person's profile, and then I'll go to their skills section and I'll endorse them for a skill. What that does is it notifies them that Jennifer Catallo has endorsed you for a skill, and typically that triggers two things. One, they'll reach out and thank me, which will spark conversation and re-engage conversation, which is one of the biggest challenges with networking, because you always get the initial conversation, but then maintaining that relationship is hard. Or two, they'll endorse me for a skill. So they'll reciprocate. So you have one or the other options. I find the skills to be an effective strategy in maintaining and building relationships. It is valuable, and it's becoming, and it's on the roadmap for LinkedIn to be more involved, more valuable. We're training recruiters when we do training to leverage skills in their recruitment processes. Skills are becoming the new currency. I mean, people are talking about it constantly. You are literally at UpSkill. So, I mean, that's telling, but that's just a sample of the way I would typically use it. The last one is, I already mentioned the recommendations earlier, really who you're following and what you're following. So again, part of my strategy, I don't particularly enjoy networking. I'm a kind of a super introvert. So networking gives me a little bit of anxiety, but I mean, let's be clear. Everyone I've ever known, probably in every job I've ever had, has gotten their jobs as a direct result of the networks that they've created. And so it would behoove anyone to be, you know, at least develop that skill. So one of the ways that I network and I follow people. So let's say, for instance, say I wanted to work at Microsoft, or I wanted to build a relationship with Microsoft or some organization that you want to collaborate with. What I would probably do is go to their company page. There's a people's tab, and I would find people. Let's say if I'm looking at a job opportunity, I would look in HR. If I'm looking at a relationship, I might look at partner engagement or partner, whatever it might be. So in this case, I'll look at, like, I can look specifically at where they might live, where they study. So I can also look at what they're skilled at, what they do. So in my case, let's say I want to get a job at Microsoft, I'll look at HR. 6,471 employees, a little too much. So let's say I wanted maybe their HR and sales. Again, I can use all of this data that's readily available and free to me to find people. That is the key. You can find pretty much anyone on LinkedIn. So once you've found someone, I have a mutual connection with these people. I have 3 mutual connections. So in this case, I could just reach out to, you know, a couple, Angela maybe, or Corden, and say, hey, I know you know Christina. Would you mind introducing me to Christina? Could you give me a warm introduction? Would that be okay? And that's a quick and easy win right there. Otherwise, I can go to Christina's page. Typically, I'll check to see, you know, does she have activity? So she's been on here last 3 weeks. So she's active on LinkedIn. Good. Then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to follow her. The reason I'm going to follow her first off, she's the director of education industry sales strategy at Microsoft, which is awesome because it's exactly where I would want to focus my efforts. But I'll follow her so that in her notifications, it'll say, like, you know, Jennifer Catallo is following you. So it'll start to give her some name recognition. Then what I'll do is I will go to her activity. I'll check out her activity, see what she's posted. Has she posted anything recently? You know, last time she reposted was a month ago. So it doesn't give me a lot, but I can go to her activity and see who does she follow, what is she interested in? And that kind of gives me a little bit of background before I potentially reach out via email to ask if she'd be keen to connect, to chat over a coffee, to learn more about what life is like working at Microsoft.
Jennifer, I would love to dig a little bit deeper in terms of when to follow, when to connect. What's the difference? Who should we never connect with? Who should we never follow? Help us go a little bit deeper into understanding this distinction, please.
Yeah, of course. So typically when you're following, the goal, I think the goal is twofold. One, anything that they do on LinkedIn, or at least some of the things that they do on LinkedIn. So when they post, when they repost, when they comment, when they share, it should get brought to your dashboard. So the idea of following is to curate your dashboard of the materials that you want to engage with. So you'll notice on mine, I'm following all of these government agencies, no surprise there, because those are all my clients. I used to follow all colleges and universities because those are all my clients. So it helps me stay engaged and aware of what they're doing. If I know, so for example, I have been following J.D. Dillon for almost 2 months now. So mind you, I'm slow at this. I take the slow, very slow approach. You probably do not want to take my approach. I would highly recommend a little bit more of an active approach, but I've been following him for about 2 months. So he just came out with a book. I actually just purchased the book, so I'm going to go and read it. He's the CLO of Axonify. It's an organization that I think is really exciting around learning and development. And so I follow him so that he knows that I'm following him. So I have my first name recognition. I've commented on 2 of his posts and he responded. So there's additional name recognition. Next, I'm going to go and send him an email to ask to be part of his network and see if he would be keen to have a coffee chat. I'm trying to develop a relationship here because I would like to at some point work with Axonify. So I'm slowly building that relationship. I find that following the intention is to learn more about that person or that company, and then engaging with them as a way to, again, bring name recognition and have a much more meaningful conversation to learn about them and with them. Start that dialogue online and then bring that dialogue from online via email into face-to-face one-on-one. That's kind of the strategy I typically use.
And I guess then, Jennifer, the strategy then is dependent on who we're dealing with. So someone at that higher level, then you need a little bit more of a intentional, slow approach, perhaps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. And I find, especially with those who are, in leadership, executive leadership positions, it has to be, short and sweet, quick, in terms of your engagement, like a quick comment or, a follow, a comment, loved your book, would love this, like really short and sweet in terms of the engagement efforts, but over a period of time, because then you're building that name recognition. Otherwise, you're just going to churn through their minds like everyone else. So I find the longer game tends to help. Because then they're just like, I feel like I know you. It's like, yes, you do. My name has popped up many, many times on a daily basis. That was the intent.
So the follow versus connect. My understanding is when you connect with someone, you can message them directly.
Correct.
When you follow someone, it's only from the feed that you can have the interaction.
Correct.
Are those the only differences, or are there other differences that I may not be aware of?
Nope, that's exactly it. Once you connect with them, now they're part of your network, and you can engage on that one-on-one via email. When you're just following them and you engage in comments on their posts, you're doing that publicly. So I like to say that when you're following it and then engaging on their posts, you're giving to them. You're giving them exposure. You're giving them the opportunity to open up to your network. When I comment on his posts, others in my network will read that and they may be interested to learn more about him. So I'm opening up my network to him, doing it publicly. So that's how I see it. I see it as a kind of reciprocity. I'm giving him attention and exposure. And then the hope is that he'll open himself up to having one-on-one in-mail conversations when we connect.
And does the same happen for people that you're connected to? If you do work, respond on their feed, does it also open up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. And some people are definitely much more aggressive than I am. They're extroverts, so they'll immediately go to connect. And I say, if you've got the chutzpah to do that, do it. I tend to be very reserved. So yeah, I tend to take a little bit longer.
So then, Jennifer, one thing I'd like us to talk, we have a few minutes left in our session to talk about, there are a number of people on this call whom I know, and I know that they have both a personal LinkedIn. I'm not sure whether they have a company page, but I know that they have a company. So can we talk a little bit about sort of this personal page and this company page? Because for me, for instance, I have been out front with my personal page, which morphs, if you will, into a company page, and the company page lags behind.
Yeah, so I would say it's really important to have a company page, because that's the space where you're getting followers. you can provide information around the products or services that you're offering. It's the space where you can highlight what you do as an organization, what your mission is, what your vision is. So for example, when I look to, the LinkedIn page, it provides me with information about who the company is, who are the people that work there. It also helps to bring brand recognition, right? So if you have people working at the organization, when they include that they're working on their respective profiles, they present here as well. So you start to kind of build like an ecosystem. Your company creates, like, your company page is basically a larger ecosystem of your products, the people, your services, your vision, your mission. All of this is kind of what lives on the company page. People can follow, and so this is where I would post information about, the company is offering this, or the company is focused on these initiatives, or the company is, has these employees who've excelled here, and really just focusing on what the company is doing. And so here's an example. Let me see. The posts on LinkedIn. So this month's issue of the LinkedIn paper, special events that LinkedIn is engaged in, top voice creators, what do they do? Some surveys. Let's unpack unconscious bias. How is that important? Anyways, all of this has to do with the company, but the CEO and any of the people at the organization, they talk about their role at the company, or what they provide, and what inspires them, and why they work at the organization that they work at. So if we go to anyone at LinkedIn, I'll say, well, aside from myself, we can go to any of the people at LinkedIn and see where they differ. So here's this person randomly. She's a customer success leader at LinkedIn. We learn about what it is that she does at the organization, her interest in building and growing teams. Then we can learn more about her experience, her credibility in this particular role. And then she can be an ambassador for the company. So she can highlight, hey, LinkedIn is doing this, share the posts that the company is posting, encourage people to go to the company to learn about the company page, to learn about what the company is doing, how the company is an employer of choice, so forth and so on. So you have to kind of take advantage of the two spaces actively working together to support the larger brand.
And are there strategies to convert? Maybe convert is not the right word, to have people who follow the individual go over to follow the company after they've been following, let's say, the individual for a while?
Yeah, so I think there's a number. I think our marketing team, this is definitely not my expertise, but our marketing team has a number of different types of strategies. I think they've even done, they've shared some examples where you might reach out to all of your network and invite them to a company event. So you can do that through LinkedIn Live as an example. So you can invite them to that company event and then tell them, if they follow your company, then the first 3 people who follow the company will get this, this award or whatever it might be, or sorry, this gift. So there are different types of strategies to try to encourage them and bring them to the company page. Again, just to encourage them to not only follow you as a thought leader, but to follow what your company is doing. Because as much as it is your company, you're going to have potentially people who are working at the company, different products and services that you're going to be offering. So you want to have like 2 distinct spaces to build different narratives at different times that complement each other. Of
Thank you.
course.
So we have 10 minutes left. So if you have any questions, you are running out of time, share your questions. You can go live. Jennifer is going to wrap up in the next 10 minutes. So if you have your questions, please feel free to ask them now. If not, I'm going to ask Jennifer. And Jennifer, you're probably going to say, you know, the marketing team is better, but you're still better for us. So Jennifer, I'm thinking about posting to LinkedIn. What works, what doesn't work? Sometimes someone will say, make posts short. Sometimes someone will say, no, LinkedIn needs a longer post. What works, what doesn't work? So length of post, frequency of posts. Can you give us any insights into what we may be considering?
Hold on one second. There is, I'm trying to get the report, hiring trends. Let me share this. Hiring trends. I don't know if it's this one. I think there's one that LinkedIn does. It might be through the economic graph. Basically the hiring trends report that LinkedIn provides talks about how organizations that used diversity and inclusion, flexibility, wellness, health and wellness in their company posts had risen in terms of engagement almost 200%, something in and around that percentage over the span of the last year. So there are definitely certain keywords that garner more interest, and you can start to see that people will, when they're on LinkedIn, might search. So I might be on LinkedIn searching for, let's say I'm searching for a job, or I'm searching for my industry or interest in something. Let's say I want to learn more about, you know, hybrid work. So what that report had indicated is that there was an increase in company page post engagements based on those keywords and those particular trends. So if I go to posts and I look at hybrid work, I can see, you know, who's posting about hybrid work, what's the likelihood that, you know, hybrid work could be a valuable kind of keyword to use. So there are different reports I would kind of advise you to look at that look at the different keyword trends and the industry trends over time to include those words. And those can be both in keywords and in hashtags. So you can even look to see like what are the top hashtags on LinkedIn for 2022 as you start to think about what your content strategy is going to be for the next year. The next one is around text versus video. So this is an interesting one, particularly because LinkedIn has just, I think they have made it so that you can now add a video. You can include the video and it comes with closed captioning. So they're trying to make it much more accessible. So my assumption is that part of the rationale for that is, as is the case across all social media, more and more are finding short, compact videos as the, you know, influx of, you know, TikTok being one of the paramount ones, especially for the next generation's engagement. And depending on who you're trying to focus on getting that engagement, including things like, you know, small videos or short, concise, you know, videos that attract attention. And again, if your focus is on, I don't know, what do they refer to, millennials or Gen Z, you're going to want to engage in those types of medium versus text-based. If you want to think about accessibility, then you want to think about the combination of the two. So if you're going to use photographs, using photographs that contribute to accessibility with captioning, and then videos again with captioning. So I would say those are probably the things that I would look at in terms of what the trends have been and some of the reports that contribute to that, so that you can better set up your strategy. And then there is a fabulous, I think it's LinkedIn marketing, LinkedIn advertising, and then LinkedIn content. There's a LinkedIn content. Oh my gosh. Course that is actually quite good. One's on building thought leadership that I wanted to highlight. And then this one's on building thought leadership that gives you some information. And then this one's a great quick tips about different posts. You know, when you post, you know, thinking about the different times that you're posting, the consistency of your posts. So like I had someone I worked with that would do like Mondays with Marcy. And so like every single Monday, she grew a following that expected her to post every single Monday. So really thinking about that strategy. LinkedIn Learning has a couple of great courses that can help with that as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Jennifer, I cannot thank you enough for coming on tonight and sharing all of this fantastic information, demystifying some of what we have been working on, and definitely highlighting some of the opportunities for us as we think about strategies for next year using LinkedIn as one of those key platforms. I have posted in the chat the UpSkill community page. Please go to that page, like that page. And to gain the there are 3 LinkedIn premium profiles that you'll have for 6 months. And so for this group, we're going to do a contest, and it's going to be Speed Matters. So one, you need to go in and like the community page, follow the community page, and you need to download the UpSkiller app. And download the UpSkiller app. I'll make sure it's written there. And inside the UpSkiller app, there's a discussion, and it says in the UpSkiller group, there's a discussion, and it says win a LinkedIn premium account. Respond to that. And it asks you to post your LinkedIn profile, the link to your LinkedIn profile, so we can have that information. Is there any other information that you need, Jen?
No, as soon as I get their profile, I will connect with them and send it.
Okay, perfect. So go into that and post the link to your LinkedIn profile, and then I'll have it for the first 3 LinkedIn profile links inside the UpSkiller app under the UpSkiller group discussion. Win a LinkedIn premium account.
Oh, I think you went on.
Oh, sorry.
All right, I'm watching the discussion to see the names that come in, to see the first that come in. So I'll be able to see who gets in. In the meantime, Jennifer, I want to say a big thank you to you. This was great learning. And what's amazing is that we've recorded this session. So those who were not able to attend will be able to watch this session again and again and again, and that we can review the session whenever we need this quality information. So we're really grateful for your time this evening, and certainly that you have come bringing gifts for this Christmas. We are very, very excited. Thank you so very much for all of this great content. And we look forward to continuing our partnership as we go into the new year, learning and growing and upscaling together. So soon as I get the responses. And so I will send you, Jennifer, the first 3 LinkedIn profile accounts that come across.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you so much again, Jennifer. Thanks for visiting us at UpSkill Community. See you next year for sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All righty. Okay. Well, and everyone, thank you very much. I'm going to stick around just in case you have any questions on how to access or anything like that. And I'll be sticking around to hand out the 3 premium accounts to the first 3 LinkedIn profile links inside the upskiller discussion.
So is it inside on the LinkedIn page?
No, you're gonna you download the upskiller app.
Okay. Okay, that's
I'm sorry, where do I find the Upskiller app on your community page?
You can download it on, let me show you. I can share this with you. You can download it on Apple or
Got it.
you found it?
I found the app and I'm trying to sign in. I found where it says that there is this premium thing on the app. Trying to
Yes.
sign in and I've forgotten my password or something because I have downloaded it before. And it says you should get an email in your thing to sort out your password, and I ain't got no email, my friend.
Yeah, mine is taking forever to download. Oh my God.
I think you should take the top 3 people that answered your call, which is the
Okay,
easiest
so I can
dirtiest
do
way
it.
of doing it.
I can do it. I can do it another way. Go say, do it on the LinkedIn on the community page. I'm going to go to the community page. I want to make sure that I do it somewhat fair. That's what I'm trying to do. Because I'm going to start a post.
Oh my
I'm
God.
already in your app. I'm almost there.
Okay, go ahead. Make sure you have your LinkedIn profile linked ready.
Whoa, you
Okay.
weren't joking with
Hi,
this.
Michelle.
So now you have options. Someone else did it already. Okay. So you can,
yeah,
okay, perfect. Crew Paul
yeah,
did.
it's not
If you're
it's
not
not
able to do
working
it in the
for
app,
me.
can you go to the UpSkill community page?
Community page.
And I've posted
Okay,
and just respond
upskill.
to that post
Okay. In LinkedIn.
in LinkedIn in the same community page. This in the I sent this to you in the chat.
Yeah, it's not working for me. I don't know. It's not allowing me to open it from my phone.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's telling me authentication already in process. It's I don't know. It's not working.
Okay,
Michelle,
Crew
you have
Paul.
a separate-
I got
Michelle-
Crew Paul is in. What did you
Michelle,
say?
you have
Sandra?
Yes, I'm
sorry,
in.
you have a separate upskill than your actual
Yes, the
personal
one
page?
that I posted in the chat, the company page. Crew Paul
Yeah,
is
no.
one.
So I have shared my LinkedIn link on the discussion.
I got it.
Thing.
You're
Yeah.
in.
Okay, what do you want us to do while we're in upskill?
Have you gone to go to the upskiller group?
Upskiller.
I just saw it. It said earn. Oh, I need to
That's
respond to it, right?
Respond
Yeah,
to it.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
know where's upskiller group.
Did you go to any of when you went in the app, did you see groups?
I'm back in the app again.
Or you're going to the community, then you'll see the post. I gave you an option.
I don't see your posts. We're in a premium account. Okay.
Yes, there you go. Just post it in the comment there.
Hi, what do I put?
Just your LinkedIn, the link to your LinkedIn profile.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Dwayne is in. So 1 to go.
I have too many things open here.
So Krupal and Dwayne are in.
I'm in.
Okay, you did it on the LinkedIn community.
Looks like UpSkill community.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we got 3. Yes, and Sandra. Okay, so it's Krupal, Dwayne, and Sandra. Dwayne, you didn't give me your LinkedIn profile, the link to your profile.
I'm gonna put it just now.
Mm-hmm.
Catherine's in there too.
Catherine's in there too. Catherine came in too. I think Catherine came before Sandra.
But it says myself, Dwayne, and Catherine. That's what I see.
Yes. Krupal was the first to do it in the app. Krupal was not on the
I did actually go in right after Dwayne, but Sandra, you take it. I can you can take it.
You
I
sure?
did have, yes. It's Dwayne, Catherine, and Sandra on there, but Krupal was in first.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll take 4th. Sandra, you can have it.
Oh, thanks, Catherine.
Yeah, so I just need to connect with all of you on LinkedIn, and then I'll send you the free access.
Okay, so I'm going to provide you the links that I have.
Yeah, that was awesome. Anyways, I'm gonna jump off. Have a good night, everybody.
You too.
Thank you.
Sorry, Jennifer, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Oh, she's still here?
Yeah.
Hey, I have a question too.
So like when I look at my profile and through UpSkill community, I'm getting back in the flow of even leveraging LinkedIn and so forth. Just while I'm looking to post my profile link, and it would be nice if I could just put the URL and I know my name, but then you're the digit that goes behind it.
Oh yeah, you gotta get rid of that.
Like, how do I get rid of it? Like, it's like I gotta go back into, or I gotta paste it in a note on my phone that I copy every time to give to somebody. It's like,
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Let me show you. You gotta get rid of that. So when you go to your your profile, you'll see can you see my screen that I'm sharing right now?
Yeah.
You know, it says on the side here, edit public profile and URL.
Right.
Click on edit public profile and URL.
When I tried that before, but okay, let me.
So see on the side here, it says edit your custom URL. Click, and then you can get rid of all those digits and then just put, like I put J Catallo. That's, because it was, my initial and then my last name. That's how I opted to do it. And then use save.
I probably really I couldn't see this because I think I viewed it from the mobile.
Yeah, there's some functionality that you can't use when you're on mobile. They're trying to make everything compatible, but we're just not there yet. So I always say anything that you need to do editing wise, do it on desktop because you'll have all of the functionality on desktop.
I think that's what it was. I'm like, why can't I change this digit behind my number? Like, I'm like, but I thank you very much.
Of course.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yeah.
I'm looking for a lawyer who does a licensing of designs, art licensings of designs, and it's so granular that I'm not sure if what route I should take.